Alright, we are going to be doing a lot of things today. Number one is, well, going to be bringing in the rotors to get resurfaced, which means we got to get the caliper off. We got to get these little screws off right here. Next, we're going to be changing the axle right inside here. That long bar, that's got to come off of here, off of the steering knuckle. That'll come later. And then I'm also going to replace this broken lug nut, help me out, lug nut bolt right here. Basically, this nut, the axle nut, is what has to start it all. And this is extremely difficult to get off. First of all, there's a little dimple right there that you have to remove. And that wasn't easy with a screwdriver, very strong screwdriver, and a hammer. And then, basically, you can either get a 3-foot breaker bar and stand on it and get this guy off. That's how difficult it is. Or you can just run out to the store and get a cordless impact wrench. So the impact wrench makes things real easy. There comes the axle nut, and that right there is the end of the actual axle that I'm going to be replacing. But now that the axle nut is off, the next thing is to unscrew these guys right here. Alright, so as we can see, this infamously awful screw has been stripped. I believe it was stripped already, but it's stripped a little bit more. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about getting the rotor off, or even if I need to get the rotor off, but I do want to change this broken lug nut bolt. But anyway, got to get the caliper off right now, so we can start freeing things up off of this rotor assembly. I'm gonna have to get two 17-inch bolts, 17mm bolts. There's one. Now the bottom one. My goodness. There we go. Hold on to the caliper so it doesn't fall off, because it will bring the brake line down with it. And there goes the brake line. So I'm going to take this off right here. And the caliper should come off with the brake pads in tow. So what I want to do is take off these two little bolts right here, attaching the steering arm to the brake line. I'm going to get rid of those. And there's two. Now the caliper is totally free. We can move on to the next step. So I got the caliper off. Got these two little 10 millimeters off. Rested the caliper on the tire so it's not hanging by the brake line. Now the last thing I just did was take out the 17mm bolt out of the fork. Pull it right out. Put that away for later. Good thing to do is put all the bolts and pieces that you're using in the same little bag for later. You can see that the fork moves a little bit more easy. Now I'm going to take off the screw holding it into the upper control arm, so I can free the steering arm and remove it straight off the car. Make things easy. And down here is the busted ball joint. So I'm just gonna pop this entire spindle off of the car. Okay, freed up spindle. Pull it out of the lower control arm, and there it is. The spindle off the car. There's the axle hanging, there's the fork that we freed up, and there's the caliper resting nicely. And there is the ball joint that I'm eventually going to get off with a ball joint press. Alright, now that we got the spindle out of the way, it's time for the axle to come out. I can already feel that it is broken. This is coming out of the boot without the boot even coming with it. So I'm gonna get a screwdriver in there or just tug on this, catch the transmission oil right there, and let's see what happens. Let's see what we can see. Okay, after snapping off this part of the axle, there was still some left at the end. That's just the boot. And here it is, the other piece of the puzzle. So now, there we go. There's the hole for the new axle. That's gonna run through there, through this fork, into that spindle. We're gonna have a new axle. That's a good looking hole.